Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello everyone. So in this video, I'm going to share my review on a book called The Uninhabitable Earth, A Story of the Future by Wallace. So this video is going to be divided into three main parts. Preview of the book, why I like this book, and my final take on this book. In general, this book is about two main topics that I believe everyone have heard about but are still ignored by many, which are global warming and climate changes. The author started the book with Cascade as the first chapter by giving some horror incidents happening across the globe in related to natural disaster, as well as some global resolution to these two issues, including the Kyoto Protocol and also the Paris Agreement. In the following chapter, the author provided 12 elements of chaos following global warming and climate changes. In this chapter, he explains how the world used to be, how is it now, and how it will be in the future. In the third chapter, the author touched on the climate kaleidoscope, which highlights different points of view and narrative regarding these issues from the eyes of an individual to the eyes of the society. In the last or fourth chapter, the anthropic principle, the author expressed the hopes for a better future and calling the actions of everyone as one because he believed that it is still not too late to do something. Now, after the preview, you might think that this book sounds boring. Well, to tell the truth, it is. I mean, at least that was my first thought too. But after a while, I kind of get hooked up with the book. And I think it was mainly because of three things. Firstly, the facts. This book provided like a whole bunch of information and facts related to natural disaster and catastrophe happening and will happen around the world, and almost everything in just one book. The information is centralized mainly based on the degree of warming. For example, half a degree of warming will cause 150 million people die from air pollution, and that equals to 25 times of Holocaust. Sometimes the author will list out like some great disaster, such as the Maria hurricane, which almost destroyed like the whole island of Puerto Rico in 2017. Initially, it is the facts that bored me because there's too much information that somehow it felt like repetitive, but it's actually not. So at one point, it just hit me that do all of these things really happen? But why does it feel like it's the first time I heard about this? Am I really that ignorant? I mean, I know that in general, global warming and climate changes is a bad thing, but I've never really known how bad it is. So I would say that this book kicked some sense of reality into me, and it was hard to digest. Second thing is, this book provided interesting and sometimes unexpected connection between things. For example, did you know that air pollution or the aerosol pollutions that can cause death and pulmonary diseases actually helps to suppress the global temperature from rising up, mainly by reflecting the sunlight back into the outer space. And other than that, interestingly, this book provided somehow plausible direct or indirect explanation on how this whole global pandemic that we are facing right now might be influenced, if not rooted, from global warming and climate changes. How? Read the book. Last but not least, I love the author writing style. You know what, while this book covers quite a heavy and complicated topic, the author managed to tone it down using narratives and metaphors to describe things. For example, the author uses the term devil bargain to describe how the nature is as if bargaining with us to choose whether to have steady global temperature or clear sky. You know, the connection I mentioned before, which either way would mean disaster. You know, in Malay we call it the ditelan mati emak, di luah mati bapak. And other than that, sometimes the author uses movie references such as Day After Tomorrow to describe the disaster, which in a way makes it more relatable and easier to get through. I believe that this book is a must-read for everyone. You see, this book is not simply about global warming or climate changes per se, but it encompasses multi-layers and multi-dimensions of science of nature, politics, economy, and social aspect as a holistic system that put us in the center of of that system. This book kind of reminds me of a lot of things and it got me thinking of a lot more. For instance, did you remember in school when we were asked to write essays about environment? There's always about the deforestations that destroy the habitats of wildlife, animals and plants, the flora and fauna. But did you realize what we wrote is always about something else rather than us as the subject? But this book is a story of us in it. In the apocalypse science fiction movie that we see on screen could be our real world in just no time. The only difference is there will be no hero to save us. Sounds scary, isn't it? Yet, as complicated as it may sound, this book is kind of like a journal of paradox, where at one end it shows that we are already screwed no matter how hard we try. But at the other end, it shows that it is still possible to do something. Therefore, lastly, what I want to say is I want to urge all of you to read this book and alike to gain some insight about something that is not less important than our current world and current life. So that's all from me. Thank you. Bye.